Hey Jeff, how you doing?
Good, I'm well.
Yeah, thanks for coming to the show. Thanks for being a teacher. Thanks for being here.
No problem, my pleasure.
Hey everybody, we're going to talk with just a little bit about the event, and we're going to talk about what is being done here and some of the sessions. So, can you tell me a little bit about where you're coming from on your church? You guys have just come through a lot.
We've
with
come
your
through
project,
quite a lot.
quite a bit.
We ended up just opening a new sanctuary. Seats about 1,200 people.
Yep.
And we had two services, so we had a traditional and a contemporary in two separate spots, a gym and a chapel.
Okay.
Now it's all in one place. And so we have both services on Sunday mornings. So we had to kind of figure out the logistics on how to do all of that.
Yeah.
We went from one camera to 4 cameras.
Oh my.
And now we've got switchers, and I went from a team of 3 to a team of 30.
Okay.
So, coming to something like this over the last few years, it's been so great to have that foundation of how to build a tech team.
Yeah.
It just makes it so nice.
Yeah. Was it very challenging merging sort of the traditional with maybe more contemporary when you pulled that together? Did you have to?
It was, and we've tried to actually implement it, a little bit of the technology and the media and everything into both. Right. So some of the traditional worship we've tried to turn on the screen some, and maybe have words for the sermon or something up there, and taking. We built a very holy space, and it's not what you would consider the big black box now.
Right.
It's a sanctuary. So for me, one of the tough things was to make that space feel contemporary.
I see.
When people were used to worshiping in a gym, and now you're in this glorious place. So that was kind of the challenge. Was that
interesting? In the other direction on that challenge.
Right.
Yeah, very interesting. So your background, you come out of a youth pastor background.
I was a youth pastor for 8 years.
So you've taken the obviously the linear progression of youth pastor to media director. Of course, happens.
Well, the interesting thing was after doing 8 years of ministry and going with our confirmation program in a Lutheran church and seeing kids with, the small catechism and a Bible with an adult. And sometimes you could see the kids kind of zone in and out.
Yeah.
So we kind of rewrote things, and we started bringing in movie clips and using the iPads and using Facebook and kind of doing things. And we could see kids start to engage.
Okay.
And so I sat there on Sunday morning watching the congregation sometimes, and sometimes we can get into a rut and do the same things. So where did the media and technology and the lighting and all come into that? And I saw where we had gone with the youth, and I said, hey, what can we kind of do to shake it up a little bit?
Right. So in applying media into a, let's say, more traditional environment or liturgical environment, perhaps, was it difficult? I mean, was it?
It's been a very slow fade.
I see. Okay.
Into it.
Right.
You maybe do a little bit of LED lighting and kind of change the lighting a little bit. The screens, you don't show a movie clip. You show, you put the words up to the Lord's Prayer.
Right.
Something very kind of, because you don't want to mess with the liturgy, and you don't want to, we've worshiped without screens for thousands and thousands of years, so you don't want to push that, but you also want to go, hey, we can still do this and be traditional.
Right, okay. Well, I think it's just a very, very interesting story. You've gone so fast.
It's been pretty quick.
Yeah.
And and if I can lead into the workshop that I'm leading, about harnessing that media a lot of times, and we had to think about that at Christ Lutheran, if we're going to do this with the traditional service and bring in some of the media and technology, why do it?
Right.
And I think a lot of times we jump into let's put all of this stuff up, but we don't answer the question why we're doing it.
So how did you walk through the why? Like within, and that's probably a long conversation, but the why, it's a great question.
I've just come to realize that we are in an environment where people learn in so many different ways. Some people can have the Bible in front of them in a bulletin and be fine, but there are those people that need that visual, that need that sound, that need that smell, and that experience. So I had to work through with the pastor and the worship team. Why should we do it? And one thing was, when we were in our sanctuary for the traditional, it only held 200 people.
Okay.
So in our contemporary services, we had 800. And we realized when we built this big space, some of those people would go from contemporary to traditional now because the space was available to them.
I see.
But they were also used to seeing Sunday morning with screens and stuff because they'd done contemporary. Now in their traditional, we don't want it to be so traditional for them. We wanted them to feel comfortable.
Right. And so it's very interesting how you have two transitions occurring.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting.
So in your role, so as tech director,
yes.
So that's obviously a wild ride.
Yes, very much so.
So out of the Tech Leaders Retreat, and speaking with the gang involved with that, you asked, you were inquiring how does the tech director get fed? How does the tech team in general get fed when they're serving during service?
You know, and it hit me because they were talking about, you know, they work 70, 80, 90 hours a week, and some of us work 40, 50, 60. And a couple weeks ago, I was kind of down, and my wife was like, sweetheart, when was the last time you worshiped? And I'm like, 2 years.
Right.
You know, it hasn't. And what I learned yesterday from that tech retreat was how you need to make sure you're spiritually healthy. If you're leading a team of people, you know, you can't be a pastor to them unless you're kind of where you need to be. So having that group up front of experts, and to say, hey, take 5 minutes in the morning and read a verse and just write something down. For me, I guess I can say this, for me, it might be, I've got 3 boys that I'm running all over Charlotte, North Carolina. It might be I'm in the shower and I just need to let the water run over me
Yeah.
and pray.
You just need a time. You just
Right.
need to find it.
Right. So you can stay healthy and realize that you're doing everything you're doing for the kingdom.
Right. So in your role, though, let me ask this one more question. Is it hard to find the balance of stopping, where you're doing what your role is, and at which point is there can you not give me more? And do you know the boundary of where I can't do? It's more of a personal question. So it's like, you can do 50 hours, 60 hours, 70 hours.
Right.
Do you know when to stop?
I don't, and the reason being is, and I've always told this to people, I never look at at being the tech director as a job.
Right.
It's ministry.
Sure.
And I feel like I'm constantly a disciple of Christ.
Yeah.
And if that means I've got to work 90, 100 hours, I do it.
He's going to carry you.
And he's going to get me through it. And it's making a difference.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I am so appreciative of the time. I love the story of your church. I get down to Charlotte. I'm going to come down and visit
Please
you.
do. And you
Yeah.
know, this is such a great thing. This is my 6th year coming, and you know, and this is feeding me. This is feeding me.
Right. I think it's very important, tech directors. We always have this analogy that we've had ever since we started doing this, which is sometimes it's easier to go away from town and find people doing the same job, and then you can bond with them, than going down the street and for the same thing. Because there's something about being in the neighborhood, that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you're teaching, and thank you for the time.
Thank you for all you do. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.